the podcast for women seeking the courage to take the next steps in life. My name is MellyS The Story Collector, and I'm on a mission to normalise the emotional cycles all women experience, so we can end the patterns of shame and guilt that are leaving us stuck, held back and disempowered from making the next chapter of our lives magical. Hello everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of the Courage 1000 Project. Now, as you all know, we usually come to you Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, but I just had to fit this amazing lady in. So we are here for a very special episode. Now, I do want to introduce her, and I apologize if I get your name wrong, lovely, the pronunciation, because I am going to let you say it properly in a moment. But first, let me see if I get this right. I would love to introduce to you Evelien van Es, who is an international business and life coach, sparring partner, speaker, and the published author of Be Relentlessly Yourself. And she's already shown me the cover of her book. It's amazing. Her passion is to inspire and help her clients achieve tangible results from the heart that last a lifetime. Absolutely love those words. She works with both entrepreneurs and senior professionals that feel somewhat stuck and are often in search of fulfilment. Now, she has a ton of other qualifications to go with that, but I'm just super excited to get into the chat. So I'm going to bring her on right now. Hello. And did I do your name justice?
You did a really good job. Actually, in Dutch, we would pronounce it as Evelien, but a lot of people, Evelien van Es. So it's lovely to be here in this early morning.
Yeah, it's very early for you, late afternoon for me, but we make it work, don't we?
Absolutely. When there's a will, there's always a way.
Always, yeah. Now, we've already kind of jumped into the conversation before we started recording, but you are specifically here to talk about how you unraveled who you are and learned how to stay true to yourself. And I love that we've already kind of touched, there's a bit of a spiritual background happening in there as well.
Yes.
So I'd love to know, where did this all start for you? Where does your story begin?
Well, I was grown up in a family where I was taught how to really, be serious about building up a career, and especially as a young girl to learn how to be independent and to be financially independent. And so what I did is really bravely, although I'm quite a creative soul myself, I just followed the path of expectation where I was building up my, after school, my career, did two universities. And when I finished school, I started making that career in the corporate world, change management in leadership roles. And actually, my true heart always went out to the people that I was leading in my teams, the individuals and the teams. And that was something that I truly loved. But there was so much around it that could actually be stolen from me. And but I still did it because it was just part of the deal. But I always had that nagging question that was kind of beneath the surface about, this cannot be all, there's something missing. And I was constantly having that feeling about, is there something else out there and what's next? And I was extremely impatient. And I also felt that creativity that was within me, I couldn't, find a way to use that both actually in my professional life as well as in my private life, because also in my private life, I've always been kind of searching. I felt restless, and that was really my journey in life for quite a long time. And then we all have these moments in life that, waken us up. And for me, that was a two-step road into entrepreneurship. Once in 2006, which is 15 years ago, when I decided, I had two young girls and I wanted to step into entrepreneurship to be free and to create that life that I wanted. But I was still working as an interim manager, aligned with that corporate world. And I needed another, I think it was 8 or 9 years before I just completely took the leap, when my partner back then got sick with cancer. And that was really my wake-up call, where I thought, I'm not going to waste any more time in my life, and I'm just going to jump in and do what I truly want and follow my heart. And I can see it as a huge gift now, looking back, that I was able to get that chance, because I needed that push somehow in my life to be able to really step up and follow my heart. So that's just you know, in a bigger picture, how my life went as a roller coaster, and the really deep dive into myself actually started back then when I started my own coaching business and really work with people. And then there's no way to get around yourself.
Yes, yeah. Once you step into supporting others, your own stuff is like mirrored right back at you.
I
You've
know,
got
I
no
know.
choice but to face your stuff. And I think it's because our heart is in it to help them. And
Yes.
because we want to help them so badly, it's like, well, I have to work on myself in order to help you the way you need that help. And it's
Yeah.
that beautiful journey that plays out.
Absolutely. And you're always a couple of steps ahead of your clients, and that's how it works. You know, you attract the
Yeah.
people that need you and that can learn from you. And but I think that's, you know, the great gift about being an entrepreneur is that it allows you to really show up, and you have to show up, and you have to take up to occupy your space. I even talk about it in my book, how important that is, because only when you really truly go deep and get to the core of your being and to translate that into your business, that's what gives you true fulfillment. And that's what we all are looking for. Everybody's looking for that feeling that we do something that gives us that feeling that we're whole as a person and as a soul, actually. And that's I think the biggest gift in my life, that I've been able to travel my journey so far to get to that point where I really feel like I love what I do. I really love it. And I feel deep love for my clients. And I do that at a certain level that I've never felt before. And this is the way you can, you know, you can really create magic, not only for your own life, but for so many lives of other people that you're helping.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I love what you were saying in the beginning too, because it's something so many corporate women experience. They feel
Absolutely.
stifled by their jobs because there's so much more creativity they can give to the world. And yet there's also a part of them going, I'm meant for more than this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it needs courage. That's what, you know, what your podcast is all about. It needs courage. And it's, you know, there is no easy way to do that. You have to just step out and go and find that deep trust within you, that, you know, that you will not drown, and that you will, you know, stay up and find your way. And that's I think that's the beauty of it, is that you know, I always like to take risks somehow, and to step up, because
Me too.
that's experiencing life, and that's really experiencing and getting to that core, and to remember who you truly are.
Yeah.
From the
There's that
core.
spark of excitement within the risk where you go, oh, hang on a second. I remember something here. There's something really cool about what I'm about to do. And like maybe it's the adrenaline hit, but at the same time, it's the adventure of exploring something new and discovering something new about yourself in that process.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I, you know, and that really is a learning journey I have every single day, is that, you know, the book that I wrote, the title, Be Relentlessly Yourself. Actually, I have it here, so I can, oops,
Yes,
let
it
me
looks
see.
awesome. It's an awesome cover.
Be relentlessly yourself and take on life. And for me, that is such an important expression, because it really is, and especially about so many women, because what I do in this book, I talk about so many topics, for example, emotions, that we feel like we shouldn't be doing this, or we shouldn't be saying this, we shouldn't be acting as if we're this and that. And I think just allowing yourself to be in respect to others, but completely yourself, and not be afraid of the consequences of what you say. But if you stay true to yourself and you practice daily and really understanding, what am I doing? What am I saying? Well, is there any fear? Am I choosing fear over love instead of the other way around? And how do I deal with people when I walk around in the street, and when I see someone that says hi, or maybe someone that doesn't, and how do I react on that? And why is that? And just by everything that you do to really understand yourself, and to understand what your thoughts behind the thoughts are that you're thinking, because that's really leading for the life that you live. And I think that entire game, as you could call it, actually, is so freaking interesting. It is so interesting. And I think that's a challenge for each of us every day. It doesn't have anything to do with being egocentric, but it has all to do with living a life of self-awareness. And by doing that, that's the only way we can really give our gift to the world and to many others.
I love that. And I love that you touched on ego, because that's one of those things where we're told ego is bad, that you can't be egotistic. And yet we all have ego for a reason. So I love that you said that it's about the self-awareness of the ego and then choosing which way you go. Because let's face it, ego can serve us if we use it in a constructive way.
Yeah. And here, chapter 9, it's called
A Healthy Ego. I love it. I knew we were on the same wavelength.
Yeah, because that is true. Some people, because the other day I was reading something about someone and he was really talking about ego as something bad. No, because ego tells us a lot what is really going on. It's very valuable mirror. And of course there is a, part about the ego that you don't want to be, because ego is not who you truly are. It doesn't have anything to do with your soul, but our behavior and our emotions are extremely important to take serious, because they are, a sign of what is really underneath there.
Yeah.
And that's
I like to refer to our ego more like our inner monsters.
Yeah.
But then our inner monsters are just little kids. They're little kids trying to protect us, so they come through in our behaviors.
Yeah.
So it's like our little kid going, no, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to behave like a crazy person right now. So you pull away from me, and then I keep myself safe.
Absolutely.
But then the adult version of us has to go, oh, hang on, I can see my little child playing games here. I need you to step aside because I'm a grown-up and I'm going to step forward and deal with this. So for me, like, ego is kind of this beautiful little kid within us that just needs love. It's nothing to be shamed or pushed aside or as wrong. It just needs some love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the comparison with a little kid within us, because I think in many other aspects, it's so important to see that inner child within us. Because if I look at my own life, I think many, many years that I somehow denied the inner child within me. In the family I grew up on, and later on, also looking at my social life, it didn't feel like it was, with friends, I needed more, deepness in a relationship. I was never the mother, at the schoolyard, having chit chat about this and that. I always wanted to have a conversation that was really meaningful and that was deep, and so but that's part of your inner child, but also that playfulness, because I also have that part within me, that can act crazy. And, why should we all lose that? Because I think that's just the gift about being relentlessly yourself, is also to, that's ageless. It doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, or, 60, 70, be that inner child every once in a while, but then, being the adult that is also the observer and that can see what you're doing, and that, that knows about what the impact of that is. But,
I love it. I love it. And I love that we've already sort of touched on emotions, because a part of the Courage 1000 project is about normalizing the emotional cycles that all women go through. Because to me, that's how we can take control of our life.
Absolutely.
If we know that it's normal for us to go through these cycles, deal with things the way we deal with it, and that everybody does it, it's not such a big leap then to find that courage to move forward. So I would love to know, have you found any cycles, emotional cycles, that you tend to go through?
Oh, absolutely. I've been through, I've been through emotional cycles. And I think even because I wrote my book last year in 2020 during COVID time. Actually, I started writing it in March and it was published this year in 2021. And I think that the the 2 years before that, or actually 4 years before that, I was in a relationship where I was not being relentlessly myself. I was hiding behind someone, and I was struggling, and that build up into such a huge emotional roller coaster for me, where I really felt like in the end I did choose for myself, and I stepped out of that relationship. And for me, that was really a huge, actually beautiful way in how my, emotions went through that, because it really felt in the beginning as if my life fell apart. It's just
Yeah.
something that I've been working on so hard. And even though I know extremely well that of course, I love my work and I do it with a lot of dedication, but it just flows, as writing a book. It's written through you. It's something that's created out of pure inspiration. That's how it works. And somehow I ended up being in a relationship where I was doing completely the opposite. I was working on it, and it was a huge battle, and it was painful from the beginning until the ending. But then how I got into my emotional cycle after that, in being in grief, but then really opening up and sharing about it. And I had a couple of people in my environment what I was really open with. It was just beautiful how I could see myself healing, and then ended up in really, getting to the corporate, but being that observer. And I think that was beautiful about this experience a couple of years ago, is that I was able to see and understand extremely well about what was going on in my emotional cycle. And I think that was the first time I was being so clear in observing about what was going on. And I could see myself, getting out way stronger and making deliberate choices that I was not ever going to be and step in any situation where I was hiding behind someone. But I wanted to live a life, do not only the work that I do, but also be in a relationship in the future where I would allow myself only to be relentlessly myself. And that's actually what I'm doing now. And that's amazing. Not being afraid of speaking up and saying everything you want to say, and just being extremely grounded in your own core, and not that, there's not anything that's going to, take me away from that, that point in the middle of the circle where I am now. And I think that we need these painful experiences, and it doesn't matter if it's, job related, or if it's privately in your family or your relationships. I think these are all wonderful opportunities for us to really take that deep dive into understand ourselves, and to see what is going on, and as I just mentioned, I think it's important to mention that again about the choices that we have, and it's understanding how to make these heartfelt choices, because we all have these soul nuggets throughout the day. And of course, and I think, Melly, you have it maybe in your way, I have it in my way, but understand the way that these nuggets, these inspirational insights that we have, how they get to you, and how you can take them seriously and act on it when the opportunity arises. And I think that's probably, the job in my life is about doing that, understanding my at a deeper level. And everything that I create and do that is a result of that is just actually, that's not the core of what your life is all about. It's about, staying pure, and in connection with your soul.
I love that. I love that. And I love everything you've just said highlights the journey that women go through. So you started off seeking freedom, but feeling stifled. And then you had to claim your freedom. You had to step forward and go, no, I am claiming this. I want freedom and choices, which to me is the first stage we go through. Then you went into the second stage, which is mothering yourself and going, no, I'm amazing. I love myself. This is awesome. I can look after myself. I have the capability to do that. And then you moved into that self-reflection phase, which is stage 3. And I have no doubt there would have been a bit of anger in there as well at some of the choices you
Absolutely.
had made. And then after that, you went into this highly intuitive stage, which is where the book flew,
Yeah.
whatever it is, it came through you. And then after the book, you stepped into this beautiful sorceress phase, the final stage, which is where you're moving forward, you're taking action. And it's
Absolutely.
all in alignment with everything that's happened.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And it's beautiful what you say, and especially because then the reason that chapter 3 actually is starting off chapter 3 and 4 in my book about emotions and also about anger, that is extremely important, because I was in that relationship where I was not allowed to express anything that was outside of the loving and the sweet and Evelien, that I that's also part of me. But I think that's so important to allow us to express what is within you. And, and it, if it doesn't resonate with the people that you're around with, or if you feel like there's so much anger coming up, then it's just a sign that there is something going on and that you should act on it. And I think that's what we do very often, is just neglecting what is being mirrored by our environment, by our surroundings. And I think that's and I think looking back at my life, I can see every experience as a huge gift, because I've learned from it, and it helped me to understand myself and be who I am today. And I think also that is really important, because when I work with especially the women in my practice, I see that they give themselves such a hard time about what they did wrong or what they should have been doing and all of that. And I think first step is letting go of that, and to be gentle with yourself, and to to forgive yourself, and to truly love yourself for everything that you do, because you made that decision back then with the best of your ability and the best of what you were in that situation thought was right. And if you do that, how can you ever be giving yourself such a hard time? But it's to learn to be not as forceful and as rude in our thoughts and our words about how we think about ourselves.
Yeah, I always like to look at it. Would you say that to your best friend? And if the answer is no, why are you saying it to yourself?
Yeah. Actually, I even have that example in my book also. But it is, if you think about sometimes the words you think or the thoughts you think about yourself, and if I would have to say that to you, for example, some people wouldn't even be able to, to say the words because they're so embarrassed. But why do we do it to ourselves? Crazy.
Yeah. And I love doing the mirror exercise, where you stand in front of the mirror and you say those words to yourself.
Yeah.
And you can see the untruth in it, that when you say them out loud, they're not real words. They're not your truth. And all of a sudden it's like they lose power over you.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, it's so much fun when we get to play in that space.
Absolutely, because then you see then it really sinks in, and then you see what you're doing, and then you can see how harmful it is. And that you can also see that way of thinking and these words that you're speaking, it's not part of your soul, because your soul is pure love.
Yes.
And I think the only fear we should have in life is actually the fear of fear, because there is, fear, it's not part of our soul. And I think that to really understand what is personality, what is, part of that ego that we just talked about, and what really is your soul. And I think that's extremely fascinating.
Oh, I love that part of life too. I find it so fascinating. And especially when people can channel their soul and it comes through so clear and crisp, and all the words they say are beautiful and empowering. When you can see that playing out, it becomes very obvious what's personality and what is soul. You
Absolutely.
can't deny the existence of it anymore.
No.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we have one final question to wrap us up. If you could go back and see yourself at the very beginning with everything you know now, what would you say to yourself back then?
Yes.
It's a big one, I know.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be is that what I experience is that life is getting better every single year, and
Oh, I
that
love it.
that it really is. And sometimes I actually today I have a client he's still quite young. He's in his 20s, and sometimes I have clients around their 20s or 30s, and when they consider themselves old, it really makes me laugh because and so I think it's about life is getting better when you grow old, because you grow in confidence and that inner wisdom grows. And I think also one thing is that being impatient and wanting to rush things. I think that maybe that will be the most important one that I would tell myself, is that, sweet little Evelyn, please slow down, take your time. You'll get there, and it doesn't matter when or as quickly. And you're not, you cannot speed it up yourself, but please take your time. And I think that probably is the biggest gift that I found later in life, is to really slow down. So many people that I'm coaching that are still in that rat race, still in that corporate surroundings, and there are so much in that pace of constantly going ahead full speed. But you can only get to a point where you can see yourself for who you truly are, and to be relentlessly yourself, if you slow down and if you can really see what is happening, and to be that observer. And that's why, in my morning ritual, I go out and I do my walking, I do my writing in the morning, I do my reflecting. And that's the way I start a healthy day. And by doing that, usually I don't start my meetings before 10 o'clock in the morning, because that's just the way I keep myself centered. I keep myself sane, and I keep myself in that position where I can add value to my clients and to be the person that feels good from within. And so I think that time gift is probably the most important one, Melly.
I love it. I love it. And it's such a strong message that if we did slow down, we would experience so much more. We would absorb it.
Yeah.
And we could get into a whole conversation about not reliving the same cycles over and over again then.
Absolutely.
Because we'd slow down enough to process what was happening. So I think that's beautiful wisdom to give little Evelyn.
Yes.
Now, we have to wrap up the show because we're reaching the half-hour mark. So I would like to say a huge, huge thank you for coming on. Yes. And for anybody who would like to get in touch with you, all your details will be below the video. So if you're listening on the podcast versions, you will find her details in the description. And if you're watching this on one of our awesome social media channels, you'll also find her links below the video as well. So thank you so, so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, likewise, Melly. It's lovely to have my morning tea with you and to have this conversation. So thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And now we've got to let you get to start your morning routine, because we've kind of bypassed you. And sorry, we've had a few little technical difficulties there, but we're back. So join us again next week as we continue on this mission of collecting stories of courage so you can find the inspiration to take control of your life the feminine way. If you'd like to join me on my mission to normalize the emotional and intuitive cycles all women go through, join my free community at MellyS.com.au.